Hey everybody, it's Sunday afternoon. I don't know what I did, but I completely messed up and thought I had this recorded, and I don't think it was, so we're doing it again. This is ALTC 806, Improving Instruction Through Reading and Writing, and it is so timely for me because I have always taught either at the university system or at the high school level, high school seniors. I have moved from Bishop Carroll teaching honors English and AP English to seniors this year, and I am now moving to middle school where I'm going to be teaching English language learners exclusively. So I'm really excited. This school really needs a full-time English teacher. They have not had one for 3 years. So I am going to be heading up that department. I'm a little scared to death, but I'm up for it. So this assignment for me this week was wonderful. I have been reading like a maniac, not just the lessons for the week, but just reading everything I can get my hands on for about a month and a half now. So this was a great article for me. The questions that we're looking at this week are: what are the literacy needs of diverse learners? How can they be supported by the content area teacher? I'm an English teacher, so they can definitely be supported by me. They're going to be reading and reading and reading and reading. My pressing question and concern that keeps me up awake until 2 a.m. every night is I will be teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, but I have 36th, 8th grade students who 1 year from now will be going to a prestigious and very demanding high school. And I am looking for anything I can do to maximize the 1 year I have left with them and help them succeed. So anything I can figure out to do to make this year really count is what I'm after. So at the very beginning of this article, there was a list of 6 things that any student would benefit from and that would increase and improve their reading comprehension. And this was really interesting to me because I've been reading articles all week, and I've been reading some mixed information about the efficacy of reading comprehension, And I just had to laugh when this week's assignment came in, because as I was reading these other articles, I was like, all right, how can reading comprehension not be one of the most important things we can be working on with students? So the 6 areas that are so important and that every student benefits from are: comprehension helps them read more accurately. It allows them to follow a text more closely. It helps them identify both events and concepts in stories. And I thought this one was very interesting because if they are identifying not just what's happening, but what it means, the concepts behind it, that's higher order thinking. So I thought that was really important. The other piece of number 3 that I thought was really important is informative text. So not just in English when they're reading stories or when they're reading fiction, but in most of their other classes, they are reading history, social studies, science. They're reading nonfiction. So the majority of what students will read outside of my class is nonfiction. They need to understand those articles with accuracy. So in the year that's coming up, I am going to be balancing about 50% between fiction and nonfiction in support of the other classes that they are taking. They must be able to decipher nonfiction informative text. And interesting enough, I've met a lot of the students that I'm going to be working with as I've been moving my classroom over from Bishop Carroll High School to the middle school, and they enjoy informational text. I think they enjoy it more than they enjoy fiction. So they're looking forward to that. Number 4, it allows students to finish their assignments with less stress and more ease, because if they comprehend it, they can do it. It creates confidence when they are being tested and when they're taking assessments. Last year, I had one class of ninth grade students, and everything else was AP English or Honors English. But my one class of ninth graders, when it came time for them to sit and take their pre-ACTs, they were so stressed out. And had I known they were going to be stressed out, I would have done a much better job of preparing them for those tests. So I will work with these students much more on low stress assessment, formative assessments, practice tests, things like that. And then number 6 is it increases their motivation to learn and to succeed when they do better on comprehension. So those are the areas that we know all readers do well with comprehension, but there are 3 areas that English language learners need the most help. The 3 typical approaches that we take to increasing competition or comprehension for ELL learners that they benefit the most from, as well as all readers, is building upon and drawing upon background knowledge, what we already know, teaching vocabulary explicitly, and stopping and checking comprehension frequently. So, 3 typical areas that will increase comprehension, and they're used for nearly all readers. Let's review this. What helps all readers? Number 1, drawing upon background knowledge. Number 2, teaching vocabulary explicitly. And number 3, stopping frequently to check comprehension. Think about it. We can't take a gigantic chunk of new information and remember it because it's in short-term memory. If we stop frequently and take that little chunk and move it from short-term memory to long-term memory, we can get it and keep it. We can own it. So that's what we want to help our students do. Now, I want to do a shout out for one student. There may be more, but there was one student whose video I watched last week. You changed my life. I have taught for years, but I have not taught reading. And I have taught at the university level, so I have never taught vocabulary. You did your video on teaching explicitly when you're teaching vocabulary. And I was sitting there going, okay, you just schooled me. I've watched your video probably 6 or 7 times. And you have changed the way I am going to teach vocabulary. I was missing it. I missed it last year. I just threw away like 900 sheets of Freyer models. Thanks a lot. Thought I had that handled. I guess I didn't. But bottom line, what a beautiful job this teacher did on teaching vocabulary in an explicit way. So I'm all in now. So number 1, building upon background knowledge allows students to use information they may not be able to articulate because English is their second language. But they're very confident about what they know. So think about how that makes them feel. I mean, they're like, I get it, I know that. I may not be able to say it, but I know it. Well, if they're sitting next to another student who is also English as a second language, they can sit there and talk about it. and then they can get excited. And don't we want our students to be excited when they're talking about English and they're talking about, hey, I just read that, or I'm getting ready to read that and I already know this? We want them excited about what they're going to read. So background knowledge is so important for ELL students. The next thing is taking your students on a tour. Now, we all know this one too, but building excitement when you're getting ready to go on vacation. For years, I would take like 40 kids over to Europe every spring break. I didn't just show up with a packed bag. We would talk about this for months. Hey, first we're going to land in London, then we're going to go and here's what we're going to do in London. Then we're going to take the Channel, and here's what we're going to do when we're in Paris. I would have those kids so excited, they were like talking all their friends into going with them. So I always had to cut it off. Okay, we got to stop. We can't take any more kids than this. So that's what you want to do. Build excitement. Show them the book. Let's look at this. Oh, look at this picture. Won't that be exciting when we read that? Okay, let's look at this header. Let's look at this chapter. I wonder what's going to happen in this chapter. Look what that says. Okay, let's look at the table of contents. When you build excitement, they want to get in the book. Now, last year, all year long, I did first chapter Fridays. And then I would hang a picture of the cover of the book up on the bulletin board. And I would have students fighting over that one or two copies of that book. Because I didn't care if they were seniors. I didn't care if they were AP. I didn't care if they were honors. They were going away to universities and they were going to be reading. I wanted them to read more. Some of them were not readers, and most of them thought they knew everything they needed to know, and I didn't have anything to teach them. So I wanted to turn them into excited readers. Take students on a picture walk. So I talked, I gave it away, but that explicit vocabulary, I was so excited about learning that last week. That's what you do when you're teaching vocabulary, is you are putting these mental pictures in students' heads. She painted these beautiful visual images, and then she was like, okay, you got it? Now you give me one. You tell me a picture. You teach me this vocabulary word. What a beautiful job she did. Probably take me 2 years to get as good as her on that one. So we often need explicit vocabulary in our vocabulary in order to teach vocabulary. In your content area, what words do you need in order to teach vocabulary? Are they transition words? Are they connecting words? Teach your class to yourself for 5 minutes. When I started doing that, I came up with like 10 words. So then I went out and I said, okay, what words do I need? What connecting words do I need? I think, fully, secondly, third, in addition, as well, I feel, in my opinion, all these words. The next thing is I have to teach students how to take notes. I do that all the time. But these students are not yet strong writers. So how am I going to do it? First of all, I've got a little pencil bag for each one of them. And inside, I'm going to rubber band 4 pencils. Orange, green, yellow, blue, whatever. Because I'm going to give them very specific instructions. I want you, every time you have a fact, take your pencil and color that orange. That's one way I can teach them how to do annotations when they can't write as well yet. But another thing I can do is I can have them draw little pictures. So I'm going to be doing a lot of photocopying the beginning of this year, especially with my 6th graders, until I get to know how much they read and how much they can write. I may be able to back it off then. Now, I'm going to share something. I get a little excited here, but I'm thinking and I'm thinking. And it's a TED Talk that I saw several years ago, and I've used it for many years as I have taught my college students how we can talk to each other when we're in Socratic seminars. But it works here. It is a TED Talk that is teaching English without teaching English. And the man that does this TED Talk is Roberto Kuzman. And so he is teaching Spanish-speaking people how to speak English. He doesn't worry too much about whether or not they're doing a good job. The reason I have shown it for so many years is because I am teaching people how to be civil to each other, and I'm teaching them logic and fallacies. But the bottom line is when he's teaching English, he doesn't care if they make mistakes. He's like, they'll get it. What I want them to do is talk to each other. And so I just happened to think about that because I want to give my students permission to make mistakes without feeling as if they're failing. And that is one of the points that she makes in this argument. We want to test them and test them and test them and test them often. So formative assessments, just verbal questions that don't have a score tied to them. That way they lose their fear of being asked. So if we scare them, they cannot bloom. And we want them to bloom. We want them to have confidence. And I've had a set of signs in my room for many, many years. It's 3 signs. And it says, we have to Maslow before we can bloom. If students are fearful, they're down in the lower hierarchy of Maslow's area. They cannot do higher order thinking because they're trapped in survival. What grade am I making? Am I okay? Are my parents going to be proud of me? Are my parents going to be mad at me? So we have to Maslow with our students. We have to move them up to where they feel secure so that they will then bloom. And so they don't come into our room unable to think. They're smart. They just come into our rooms unable to understand our language. Various levels. The moment we make them feel, the moment they believe we think they are not smart, our job gets 10 times harder. So I have a wall on one side of my room. I created this last year, and it has it's hanging like a pegboard wall, and it just holds 1 million graphic organizers. And every time I introduce a different graphic organizer, I use a lot of Avid one-pagers, I just drop the extras in one of those folders, and they can now walk over anytime they want one, and they can get another one. So once I've used it, I just leave them out. And then I watch them. Or if I see that they need another one again, I walk them over and show them where it is. So that has worked very well for me. I use a lot of graphic organizers, especially when students are still learning to hear the language. So another thing I love is to have them tell me the story they just read. Summary is the greatest way to test for comprehension. So these are some of the things that I walked away from the article with. There are some more things in there that I did not cover. I just got excited, and these are the things that meant the most to me. I'm really gaining a lot from this, from the readings and the videos, more from the readings than the videos, because the videos make me crazy because I can read faster and take notes faster than I have to stop the videos all the time. But either way, I'm learning a ton, and I appreciate this class so much. It came at just the right time for me. So this is where I'm at for this week, and just am loving it. I hope you all are too. Thanks so much. Bye.